Cincinnati taking on Memphis. 3:30 Eastern kickoff in that game. Memphis is minus 9.5, total 57 and a hook. We saw a 1-point fade of Memphis and movement downward on the total. The Tigers open 10.5 down to minus 9.5. Total open 58 and a hook down to 57.5. 58% are leaning Cincinnati, 82% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Bearcats are plus 300 on the money line. They lost to Memphis last week, 34-24. They're also just 1-2 against the spread in their last 3. They failed to cover in 4 out of their last 6 as well. The Bearcats rank 106th in passing in the country. They're also 86th in offensive yards per play. A couple more disparaging things to read about Cincinnati. They're 101st in passing yards allowed on the road, 93rd in yards per play allowed on the road as well, and they failed to cover against the likes of Temple, USF, East Carolina, and Tulsa. Memphis on the other side, 11-1 straight up on the year, 8-4 against the spread. They've also successfully covered the number in 5 out of their 7 games away from home. They rank at the top 10 in scoring, top 10 in yards per play. Brady White has thrown for over 3,300 yards on the year, 32 touchdowns, 78.8 QBR. He also has 2 rushing touchdowns, so that's 34 total touchdowns for Brady White. And Kenneth Gainwell, what can we say about him? He's rushed for over 1,300 yards on the year, nearly 1,400 yards. He's got 12 touchdowns on the ground, and he's averaging 6.8 yards per carry. Now, Memphis ranks in the top 35 in rushing yards, like I just said with Kenneth Gainwell. They also rank in the top 25 in passing yards per game as well. DeMonte Coxey, 979 yards on the year, 9 touchdowns, 17 yards per reception. So he should eclipse the 1,000-yard mark in this game. And Antonio Gibson, 604 yards on the year, 7 touchdown receptions, and he's averaging 21 yards per reception. Now, this Memphis defense, they're holding their opponents to under 200 yards passing per game. They're also ranking in the top 35 in yards allowed per game as well. Bryce Huff has 6 sacks on the year, 2 forced fumbles, and 42 tackles. Johnson and Blake, 2 interceptions apiece. And when it comes to this total, we're looking at a Cincinnati team who's 4-0 to the under in their last 4, 6-2 to the under in their last 8. Meanwhile, 2 out of Memphis's last couple of games stayed under the total as well. I'm going to lean toward Memphis minus 9.5 and the under 57 and a hook in that game. Next matchup, Georgia taking on LSU, and that's going to be the SEC championship game at 4 o'clock at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. LSU's the 7.5-point favorite, total at 54 and a hook. We saw a 1.5-point move toward LSU and movement downward on the total. The Tigers opened as the 6-point favorite. They're now up to minus 7.5. Total open 56 down to 54 and a hook. 65% of the consensus are leaning toward LSU. 73% shaded toward the over. And right now the Bulldogs of Georgia are plus 2.